Hi, I'm Ashley. I go to the University of Wisconsin. Today we're at the UW Makerspace, and this is DigiKey's Summer Break Edition. Today I'm going to be building a StumbleBot. The parts we need are the Circuit Playground Express, the Adafruit Cricut, a couple AA batteries, a servo, a micro servo, and they'll come with some horns to attach to the legs later on. We'll also need a male AC adapter, a battery holder, a cardboard box, and I actually laser cut out the legs, but you could also use cardboard. So first we're going to need to cut off the flaps of the box. You can either use scissors or an X-Acto knife. So now that we have the body of the box, we have to pick a direction that we want to be front. I think I'm going to put googly eyes on, so this is going to be the front for me. The next step is to take one of the servo motors and to trace the outline. Place the bottom of the servo directly in the box and take a pencil and just outline it. Then we're going to take the X-Acto knife and just cut it out. You want to be careful not to make it too big, so you want to be close to the lines. You don't want the servo motor falling out. Kind of just pop it out. You're going to want to see if it fits in here securely. You might need to make it a little bit wider if you cut it too small. I seem to have cut mine pretty well, so it fits in here pretty snugly. Then you can remove it quickly, and we're going to basically do the same thing with the micro servo, except this one is going to go on the back. Now when you're cutting this one, you have to be careful not to just center it up in the box. You have to make sure that the pivot point is at the center when you're tracing it. So I marked about a halfway point because you want to be pretty precise on the back legs here. And then you can line up the pivot points with that line about, and then you're going to want to trace it. All right, and then we're going to cut it out the same way we did with the other one. All right, and then you just pop it out, and you're going to want to do the same thing where you just test it out, make sure that it's not too snug. Fit in there. Once again, fits pretty snug. So next we're going to want to hot glue the servos in place just so that they're not moving later. And just put little dabs around the edges before quickly placing in your servo motor. Then you can just hold it inside until the glue dries. Should be pretty fast. We'll do the same with the other servo quick. Next we're going to assemble the front legs. You're going to look for the flat edge. Put a line of glue on it and stick it near the edge of the front support beam. You don't want to put it right on the edge just in case it starts wobbling. This will be a little bit stronger. You'll do the same thing with the other leg. Put about the same distance away and make sure that you're holding it at a 90-degree angle for the best result. Also going to want to make sure that the slight tilt on the leg is facing the same way as the other one, otherwise it might be stumbling in the wrong direction. So what you're going to do next is you're going to take the horn for the big servo, and you're going to just kind of attach it on here. I chose the one with the 4 prongs because it'll be a little bit steadier. And then you're going to turn it as much as you can to the left. So for me, there's only a little rotation. And then you're going to turn it all the way to the right. And you're just going to try and find a middle point so that way when you attach your legs, they're pretty closely calibrated and we won't have to adjust it too much. So I believe for me that's going to be about here. So I'm going to do the same thing with the micro servo, and I'm going to use one of the horns that came with this particular servo. Put it on, move as much as I can to the left. All right, move it all the way to the right. And I think that means the middle is about here. It's okay if you're a little bit off, we'll fix that when we're coding. So the next step is to probably just mark the middle of your legs. That way you're putting it on here as center as possible. So I'm gonna use my ruler here Measured about 4 inches. All right. Then we're gonna apply some hot glue onto the horn. You have to make sure to do this pretty fast because you don't want it to dry before you put it on. And just try and line it up as best as you can with that mark. All right, that should be pretty good. Now you're gonna want your box to sit pretty flat. So before marking on here, I'm actually just gonna kind of hold it, see what kind of angle I want. And I'm just gonna mark that down real quick, about the height. And then I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm gonna mark right in the middle. So this one is about 8 inches as well. We're gonna have it right at the cross again. And then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna put the hot glue on the horn, and we're gonna line it up as best as possible with the mark again. I think it's pretty good. So next we're gonna need to add the Circuit Playground Express onto the Cricut board. It'll come with a couple of pieces, screws and whatnot to assemble this. When you're screwing in the Circuit Playground Express, you have to make sure to line up the V out holes on both of these, just so that it functions correctly. And then just tighten everything up. So next we're gonna attach the male AC adapter to the battery pack. The first step is to cut off a little bit of this wire. It'll come with this tip. You just wanna cut that right off with some wire cutters. And then we're gonna need to strip both ends. Now I found it really helpful when I'm putting these in here to try and get them tightened, to just make this a little ball before I pinch down and screw the screws on it. Loosen this up a bit. So then you're gonna stick the black wire into the negative terminal. Just try and get it in there as far as you can. And then you're gonna tighten the screw up right away. You're gonna wanna get it as tight as you can. Then when you're done, give it a good tug. You don't want it falling out, otherwise that might mean it's a loose connection. Then we're gonna put the red wire into the positive end of the terminal and screw down just like the other one. Nice and tight again. Give it a good tug to make sure it won't come out. And make sure when you're working with this that you don't actually have any batteries in the battery holder. So I'm just gonna place those in here now. And so we can mount this better, I'm actually gonna unattach the little clip here because this is a flatter surface to be mounting. So now you can either hot glue the Cricut onto the battery pack, or you can use tape. I'm just gonna use tape. You're gonna wanna make sure that you place the Cricut onto the power supply so that the barrel jack is facing the way so you can put the adapter in there. So now we're gonna be placing this inside of our box. Just put a line of hot glue in and place it somewhere in the middle of your box. Try not to go too much left or right, otherwise it might be a little unbalanced. Now it's time to hook up the servos onto the Cricut. You're gonna wanna take these. There's a little servo area, and you wanna make sure that you have the yellow wire facing outside. I'm just gonna hook this up, and just put the other one, yellow wire facing out again, right next to it. Now let's do some coding. The first thing you're gonna need to do is attach a USB to your Circuit Playground Express, and you need to make sure that it can actually transfer data and that it doesn't just charge a power supply. Then what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to install the Mu editor. You can find this on the Adafruit site and just follow the instructions how to download it onto your specific computer. Next, you're gonna wanna go to the code page under the StumbleBot project on Adafruit. You can scroll down where you see download code.py, click on it, and make sure to save it into the Circuit.py drive on your computer. And you wanna make sure that you don't change the name, you want it to save as code.py, so that way it will automatically run on your Circuit Playground Express. So then you're gonna pull up code.py on your Mu editor. And you can just kind of like read through it so you have a general idea of how the code works, but you shouldn't need to edit it too much. The only thing that we're gonna have to do here is edit a couple lines just to make sure that the legs are calibrated and he's gonna be walking properly. So in the code, we're gonna look for certain blocks of code. One states servo_front. There will be another block below that says servo_back. That just indicates that the first block will be in charge of moving the front legs and the lower block will be in charge of moving the back legs. Here we'll look for index and while index is less than or equal to. The numbers in there will indicate how much the servos will actually be swiveling. So I actually like to lift it up before trying it out because you never really know how the legs are gonna be calibrated. So let's just test it out. All right, so if you see, it's coming up on one side but not on the other. So you can see that's not actually calibrated to how we wanna be. having him walk. So then we're gonna look for 2 lines of code. One will be the index and the index while, and they'll just tell us the angles at which the servos are going to be turning. So now for the back legs, I've just changed 2 of the numbers in the first half of the back legs block, and I changed underneath it in the next if statement. This will just stop and start where it's gonna turn, and this way I can figure out which leg it's kind of controlling. So once you've calibrated it or you uploaded the code, you can kind of see the angle that the legs are shifting at. So the legs in the back, you only want to be shifting a little bit. I have them shifting about 20 degrees. And the front, you want a bigger angle because they're actually pulling the bot forward. So if I set him down, start it up, he'll start to wobble forward. Now it's a pretty smooth surface, so he's sliding up a bit, but we can help that out. So an easy way to fix this is to take your hot glue gun and to just create a line of glue on the bottom of the legs. Try to make it pretty even, so that way he's laying flat still. And then you just need to let it dry. These will create kind of like a sticky little pad that'll help pull him forward. Now that we have everything finished and calibrated, we're gonna unplug him and then set him free. Now all that's left is to add some googly eyes and take him for a walk.